this up. Okay. All right, listen, I want to thank you for joining me, Yasheika Turner. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And you?
Good, I'm well, thank you very much. So why don't you just tell me a little bit about what you do?
So I am a registered nurse specialized in mental health. So I'm a mental health nurse. I work in the outpatient services. So I am a case manager for clients who are in the community. So we do community follow-up in the community with long-term schizophrenia. So we care for clients that are diagnosed with mental illnesses with a specialty area in schizophrenia.
So, okay, so have you, in this COVID environment, have you noticed an uptick in the amount of people that are being diagnosed or even looking for help?
Not really diagnosed, but we see an increase in relapse. So, due to the pandemic, there's an increase with anxiety, increased depression, which triggers relapse in these clients. So they may need additional support. Most of the time, it's therapy, talk therapy. So they will call in to say they need support. They're feeling anxious, so we would use our care plan to help them to get through whatever crisis situation they're going.
Right, and that has increased, I guess, this year, would it?
Yes, yes, it has increased. And it has increased with, well, in my community here at work, we have long term. So it's not really new onset cases of mental illnesses, it's chronic cases. So they're already diagnosed with with a mental illness, receiving follow up care, right? But there has been increase in new cases of mental illnesses, especially depression and anxiety in the community with other persons who are not already diagnosed, so new diagnosis.
Okay, do you find that, people are afraid to even be diagnosed? Is there still that's that internal feeling of a stigma attached to it that people just don't want to be diagnosed?
Yes. We call it, the clinical term is lack of insight. So because of stigma, because of culture, and because of just different background beliefs, at times they will desist to believe that they're experiencing depression and they need help to reach out for help, especially depression, because depression is one of the most common mental illnesses there. And at times you'll think, okay, it's just something that I will get over. But at times, if it's lingering more than 2 weeks, we need help. We need help. At times, if it's like under 2 weeks, you're experiencing like the signs of depression, lack of sleep, too much or too little sleep, eating too much or too little, withdrawn, having no motivation, all those signs, having no self worth. And if that's lingering on for too long, you need help because that will um, reach to another severe form of mental illness, which oftentimes, sometimes leads to suicide because you have no hope, you give up, and yeah, so you need intervention.
Do you typically find that that one gender is more open to that type of help than others?
Females are more open to care. Men, especially with culture too, with the fact that men think that okay, they're strong. The ego is something that they can get over. So at times they might resist reaching out for help or accepting help.
Okay. All right. So I guess then what you do for someone who's feeling, maybe I am going through depression, how do they reach out to you and how do they find the resources available?
So the resources, there are several community resources. We have the crisis helpline, which is the COAST helpline. A lot of like our clients, you're familiar with that. There is, if you're feeling really that you need assessment and there's a psych emerge assessment, that's a child then where you can go in. And with COAST, you can call the helpline for assessment too. And it's important for friends and families and people around to be aware and to be educated of the signs of depression. Because those are the people that you are around. Most of the time, we can identify changes. So mental health education, I think it's important for the awareness of everyone to identify when persons are experiencing signs and symptoms of mental illness.
It must be difficult because I could just, in my head, I play it through and I think if I recognize the signs in a child or a partner, and I approach them on it, they would be defensive. That's what my head thinks would happen. How do you overcome that?
Overcome them having like the barrier. So
Yes.
you try to talk them into it, identifying where your normal versus your abnormal behaviors.
Mm.
That's the first step of bringing some awareness to them, which sometimes still is a barrier because it's lack of insight. So you can't identify that you are ill. You need help. You don't have the insight to see that. And then the next step would be to seek alternative intervention from a clinical professional, which is again community centers directly at the hospital or at the site to merge for intervention.
Awesome. So thank you very much.
Okay, bye bye.